Cattle on feed, we're at 82,000 head today. Almost 93,000 head capacity is what we're at. By the end of the year, middle of December, we'll be at 104,000 head capacity. And then kick it off again once the weather turns in April and start getting more pens and building capacity.
The GK Jim Farms team has put together a closed loop supply chain of feeder cattle to where we have a genetic supplier that works with the dairy. Then the dairy produces the day-old calf. The day-old calf goes into one of the calf ranches that we are aligned with. The calf then comes to Blackshirt Feeders. After the animal is harvested, the complete production data go back to the genetic company, and the genetic company can then use that to help determine which sires are beneficial and which sires might not be as good, and then that goes back into the loop and it continues to go around and around. It allows for a large production of offspring to help make selection decisions, and it's a large number of the same sires that are being utilized on genetically similar females. So if we compare that to a beef program, especially with natural service, I mean, it's 40 or 50 offspring for 1 year is going to be about the maximum number of offspring that you are going to use to determine what that sire's genetic merit is. With this system, we are getting thousands and thousands of records from every sire, and we can quickly make improvements because of intensive selection, because of that feedback loop. So what's really cool about it is we've always talked about the dairy industry, and then we've talked about the beef industry. And this is an opportunity to where the two industries are coming together, and it's a very synergistic opportunity. There's massive benefits for the cattle feeder and also massive benefits for the dairy, because it has taken what was not a very valuable commodity and turned it into a very valuable commodity, and is essentially a new revenue source for the dairyman, and it's a new supply of feeder cattle for the feedlot owner. Everything is structured and is timed, and we know as soon as a group of animal arrives, the calendar is built out. So based off of the protocols that we provide, and when I talk about we, I'm wearing my other hat, I'm wearing my TELUS agriculture hat as a veterinarian. We provide the protocol to the management team, and Trevor sits down with that protocol and puts together a calendar. That way everybody knows what is going to happen, and there's no re-immunizations that are missed, there's no implants that are missed, and everything can be timed and scheduled accordingly. That has a big impact when it comes to promoting efficiencies, because we know exactly how many people we need to have here this day to make this happen. So yep, lots of scheduling, lots of planning, and working with your veterinarian or your nutritionist to come up with defined protocols, and then having a scheduler in place would be one opportunity that anybody could deploy immediately.
We are in corn country. You look on Google Maps and you see corn circles all over the place, especially north and east of us. But this site in particular, we've got a very good neighbor, a very large neighbor that's got a lot of land. One of the nation's top 3 potato producers. Since we've moved in, he's open to growing sorghum and triticale and everything else. So we don't really have a need to do our own farming, just because of those relationships and agreements that we've been able to make with him. But there's also a lot of other local farmers that provide the same feed stuff. So at this current time, there's not really a need for us to do that.
The general manager, Trevor, oversees the schedule. However, he delegates that to his assistant manager and then also the cattle manager. So it's all handled at the management level, and then they deploy the resources necessary to do that. But the general manager has a high-level idea of what is happening every day.
So all cattle that we receive all come in on the far northwest corner of the yard, and so they first come off the truck, they go into a receiving pen, and then all of our arrival processing takes place in barn number 1. So that's where we, put on our visual tag, upload their EID into our system. If they don't have an EID, that's where we assign one. They're penned very close to that first barn in a 200 head pen. They spend, it depends on the cattle type, but 30 to 45 days in those 200 head pens. And then for their next rehandle, they're actually rehomed at that time. So all the barns are strategically placed throughout the yard to where whenever you go and you get that updated weight or updated vaccine, they're actually going further and further east and closer to our loadout chutes. So you kind of just rinse and repeat that process until they're ready to go to the packer, and they're right next to our loadout chutes. So we're minimizing the amount of times we have to put stress on those cattle and move those cattle by having this strategic design of where those barns are. So in each one of our back alleys, we've got at least one, a majority of our back alleys have 2 treatment chutes, so one for the north end, one for the south end. So as our pen riders begin their day and go and pull animals, all they're doing is pulling them to the back alley. So the longest that they're gonna go is maybe 1,000 feet, and then they're held there until our treatment crew, which typically comes by within an hour or 2 of them being pulled. They'll actually administer any treatments that's necessary there, and then they get rehomed back into their home pen. The only time that we actually do take them to a hospital pen per se is if they are physically injured or chronic, and at that time, if we are a distance away from those pens, then we'll actually bring a stock trailer over and haul them instead of walking them over.
A crap step on the back side of the bunk at the bottom. It's about a 4-inch by 4-inch ledge. And when you think about the anatomy of a bovine, what that does is it prevents the bovine from backing up far enough for it to defecate into the feed bunk. But it serves 2 purposes. One, it prevents that, but then in the smaller calves, it literally gives them something to step up on, which allows them to get further into the bunk. So for somebody like me that is never been excessively tall, I can appreciate that it gives the small calves a step up. So that that's one small thing. Attention to the details when building animal handling facilities is also very, very important. So we've actually made changes from processing barn number 1 to 2 to 3, and by the time we do our 4th and 5th ones, I think we're finally going to have it right. But we started with a really good design. The more objective you can be to decide what is good for animal handling, the better. So what we did is we went to lots of operations and we actually captured drone footage in cattle moving through facilities. And that is how we came up with the design. So taking the time to explore other people's facilities, ask them what works well and what doesn't, that's something that I would really, really encourage. So all of those things combined, if I was to, give somebody some ideas about how to expand their current operation, I would definitely consider all of those. All of the data is collected and managed here on the day-to-day operations using TELUS agriculture software called Feedlot Record Management. And that is all driven off of the electronic identification. In the US, different from Canada, it is not mandatory. In Canada, it is mandatory before the animal leaves the ranch of origin. That is not the case in the US. It is voluntary. However, because of the benefits to having each individual electronic ID, every animal at Blackshirt Feeders does have an electronic ID, and therefore that animal has a digital record in Feedlot Record Management. So with that system, everything that happens to every animal is recorded. So when that animal arrives, at arrival processing, every product that animal gets, that animal's temperature at arrival processing, the animal's weight. If that animal gets sick, the animal's temperature and weight is again recorded anytime it comes through the chute. When it's re-immunized, the weight is recorded, sometimes the temperature, and we track everything that happens to that animal. If the animal dies, then we know what the cause of death was. We know exactly what pen that animal was in and what lot it was associated with. We can tie everything back to the lot. That allows us as veterinarians and nutritionists to be able to monitor that, because everything that is collected today syncs with our system in real time, and we can pull it no matter where we are in the world. We are headquartered out of Alberta, Canada, and at one time we had the server located in Okotoks, but now the server's in the cloud, so everything is in real time, and no matter where I'm at, I can monitor that. And we even take it to the level of detail that when an animal dies, we have personnel on site that do a full digital autopsy on it, a necropsy, and those pictures are uploaded and then me as a veterinarian determine what the exact cause of death was. That way we know in any given pen at any given time, are we having an infectious disease outbreak? Are we having metabolic challenges? Without knowing that, the appropriate intervention cannot be determined. It's very important that not only do we use that, but we can take that information and provide feedback to the crew.
Obviously, data is very important to us, and keeping track of all of these records for each individual animal with FRM and TELUS. We actually broadcast a Wi-Fi signal from every single facility. So this building that we're in right now is broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal throughout the entire site. So there's an antenna on each one of those mobile units that captures that broadcast signal from the closest building. It sends another signal to a second antenna that's on there, and it actually broadcasts a Wi-Fi signal to the treatment crew with about a 30-foot radius from that vehicle. Doesn't matter where we're at, we've got the Wi-Fi signal to be able to upload information real time, which is very important because we've got a team of veterinarians with our consultants that are always monitoring our data. And there have been times where we've got an animal in the chute and we get a call and say, hey, before you let them out, let's do this. We're able to, identify where they came from and what size they came in at. And so, yeah, we have made some decisions. Hey, we need to bring cattle in a little bit heavier, or, this population, we can bring them in a little bit lighter if they're available. But also just from in-house, we've made the decision, hey, we need to keep these animals in the 200 head pen a little bit longer because we're noticing a huge uptick whenever we prematurely move them. And so just keeping them in a 200 head pen for another 10 days has already moved the needle. And so, yeah, it's really exciting to see, how that data has already influenced our operation. We're only a year in. Whenever we were designing the mill, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was the driver experience for those folks that are delivering our corn, because there's nothing more frustrating than delivering a load of corn to the co-op and waiting in line for 45 minutes or an hour. And so we wanted to make sure that not only served our purposes for the amount of corn that we're going to be taking in, but it was also a positive experience for those drivers, because they do influence those decisions from the farmer to say, hey, where am I going to sell my corn? So our receiving pit is very automated. It's just like everything else in the system. So there's a receiving bay that's equipped with a microwave sensor, so it senses when a large metal object enters, turns the entire system on, and then it reads amps and current and knows when the system is running dry, and it shuts itself off. So the capacity of the pit can hold about 2 truckloads. We've got redundancy throughout the mill, so we've got 2 bucket elevators. So we could receive a corn at any time, doesn't matter if we're filling the steam chests or not. It unloads that truck in about 3.5 to 4 minutes, and then that feeds straight into our steam chests, or goes into our storage for the grain bins. From there, we've currently got 2 flakers in operation. The third will be commissioned here in the next couple of weeks. When we're all said and done, we'll have 4 steam chests and flakers. We flake that corn. It just makes it a little bit more palatable and digestible for the cattle, opens it up for those nutrients. But then on the inside of the kitchen, we've got a loader that will actually take that flaked corn if it's not automatically fed to one of the boxes, because we do have a drag chain underneath our flakers, which allows it to either drop straight down into the bay, or it gets transferred in and automatically fills the boxes without being double handled. So that one loader, he keeps the boxes full for the other ingredients that are delivered on a live bottom trailer and dumped into the kitchen. Since we do have a ramp on the backside, everything that's delivered here from over the road trucks is on a live bottom trailer. So it falls directly into the kitchen, minimize how much we handle that material, and then the loader, his only job is to read the lights and keep those boxes full. So there is a series of lights. The solid green means everything's good. We've got enough for the next load. Blinking green is high priority for the loader operator. That means that we do not have enough in this box for the next load. We need to add more material. Blinking red is very important as well. Do not fill anything because we're actively discharging. So the way that system works, it's declining weight or negative weight technology, a lot of people say. So it takes a known weight and discharges until you hit your target weight. That's how you know you've got everything right. And then solid red means it's either completely full or not in use. So very easy on the loader operator standpoint. We can train people very quickly to read those lights. Some of our more advanced operators will actually be operating the plant from a tablet while they're running the loader, especially at this time while the mill isn't pushed as hard and the loader isn't as busy. We can actually use that loader operator for more than just loading the boxes. So they can control everything from grain receiving to the loadout. From there, so the boxes discharge onto a conveyor. They're all on load cells. They're calibrated to within 5 pounds for our macro ingredients like silage and corn, and then calibrated to within 2 pounds for our other ingredients. Those all fall onto a conveyor. They're fed up, accumulator bin, and then a mixer. So the accumulator can hold a full load. It's rated for 40,000 pounds, and then the mixer itself is rated for 40,000 pounds. Next year we'll have that same setup, so in theory we could have 4 loads ready to go just waiting on trucks.
We've tried 2 different silage covers. They require much less cut tires, which requires a lot less labor. And the really cool thing about this silage cover is that the edges are Velcro. So they attach with Velcro, that's what holds them down, and then it's reusable. As you move back through the silage pit, you just roll one strip up, and then you deface that part of the silage pit. Then you roll the next strip up, you deface that part, and you use that roll again, so it's reusable. So what is required is a thin oxygen barrier, and then this reusable tarp. This is our first year trying it, and we have 2 different products we are trying. We will know next year, by the time we get through this year, which is best, but I'll bring the names of both of those to the feedlot school.
The way that we've kind of formulated our feeding is we give the cattle 40% of their daily call on first feeding. We start feeding around 6:30, and then that second round is only 20% of the day's call. So that happens usually right before lunch, and then the last call for the day is the remaining 40%. They always have fresh feed in front of them until the next day. In a typical clay-lined pen, you would typically see like 250 square foot per head. Here we cut that in half, so it's 125 square foot per head, just because every inch of that pen is usable space. After a rain event, just like we've had here the last couple of days, you would typically see, a lagoon in the center of it. Here, every square inch is usable space. All of that water sheds perfectly, so we don't have to have the area that you would have to have on a clay-lined pen. I know that a lot of people would see our bunk space and say, man, that's not enough. But then going back to data, there have been a lot of research studies conducted by these partners in particular that shows, no, this is actually optimal whenever you take into account, the upfront capital expense, but then also cattle conversion. So yeah, we're just under 7 inches of bunk space, and which, yeah, doesn't seem like a lot, but yeah, we're able to make it work, and research has shown that from their studies that it doesn't affect gain on cattle. As long as you're willing to work and have the attitude, hey, we can learn as we go, you may find the new best way to do something.
It's very important that we can take that information to utilize the data to make decisions so that we are on a continual plane of improvement.